Oh my God, it's fascinating. I'm like, this is I feel like the better version of this one is that's so funny. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. My dog is great. I think it's about everyday long distance and also measure my and he goes back to he did. Okay, questions. That's all I'm saying. Yes. I think it was 35 minutes. I don't know, because you know, usually how women sort of. And honestly, I don't know how it's feeling about it. Like, we have other things going on. You don't have to necessarily know that. That might be your life. There's another. Because I feel like, that's why I know maybe it goes better. Send me these. I'm gonna say, yeah, usually that's what I'm saying. You really gonna need some help. Either you're gonna do that, or you're gonna hire somebody. You cannot do that with just all by yourself. No, I can't do this. It's gonna take forever. It takes a weekend. It's like how much you do 3 days. Yeah. You have to commit like 3 hours to each level. Like, yeah. No, it's okay. Other people cool. Okay. That's just one thing. That's something. That's one thing. I was good. Because you're trying to get your pocket. And y'all trying to do it. That's true. Yeah, that was good. Is that where it came from? Yeah. Okay. So you really don't have that much. I'm gonna keep it in my face. It's not gonna be on that. But if it's I'm tired of it. The main thing is you're not just going to get it out. For right now, I know what I need to do. It's a matter of downsizing. Like I was doing something that was really important, and it's also like organized. Because yes, I mean, but it's not like I want things to be more important. Like I do die. You just need to get a system. Like, okay, he's over here. He's here. I get it. That would make it like, especially if you're traveling, you'd be like, okay, well, no, this is you. I need to get the you should give yourself a minimum 3 days to get it out. That's honestly, that's not like really well around the pack. See, I got it. What is worse?
Testing.
Yeah, perfect.
Good?
Yep.
How y'all doing today? Good. What's up, y'all? Appreciate y'all coming out. Sorry for a little bit of a delay. Wanted to give more time for everybody pulling up, a chance to join us here. It's going to be a really special night school class. Probably be one of my favorite because you guys are going to get to learn from an industry expert that's accomplished things that we've all, without knowing, probably had the privilege of enjoying or seeing on TV or seeing somewhere. So it's a very special class, being taught by somebody that has a huge impact on my career and my life. So round of applause for you all coming out tonight. I appreciate it. I love also that it's a lot of faces that I don't always recognize in high school. So that's really special as well that new faces are joining us today. That's always a great thing. You all taking advantage of this resource, this opportunity that we create means a lot to me. You all coming out at night and giving us y'all time and energy. So I want to bring this guy up, but I want to give a little bit of backstory as to who you all are going to learn from and meet today. This guy right here is somebody I met originally in a restaurant, at a local restaurant, and didn't really know who each other was. We kind of just met being there, and later on we got connected. He's one of the first individuals at an advertising agency that really gave me an opportunity to bring, my craft and my skill set, my creativity to the forefront with like a major brand. So the first time we got to work together was for Atlanta United during their inaugural season. As you all hear more about what he does, him and his agency are the advertising agency in charge of Atlanta United. So a lot of the campaigns that you all seen, they kick off of that team, the excitement built around that team. A lot of that stuff was honestly, created and curated by this guy that you all gonna learn from today. So the first time we was able to work was I was able to bring my skill set, documenting Atlanta culture, and clash it with the making of a new team. And we were able to curate and create a few like really opening to the team projects, like unveiling the first video we did together. He allowed me to help direct a video unveiling the uniforms. So the first time you all got to see the original red and black Atlanta United uniforms was a creation that he made and he put together. Very hands-on, driving me around in the back of a truck, like very hands-on in the process, in the weeds with it. But it was a campaign that they put together that we were able to do together that really generated some true excitement around the team. As you know, first year Atlanta United broke records, attendance records, really shifted the culture of soccer, not only in Atlanta, but in the United States in general. A lot of the stuff they was able to do, a lot of the ways they were able to organically work with the Atlanta culture and the community. It's groundbreaking stuff. And that was how we first got to work together. We went on to do a number of different projects for Atlanta United. And then more recently, I just did a campaign for Lids, the hat company, a global campaign, working directly with him again. So there are a lot of opportunities built around inside advertising agencies in that world. A lot of times we think as a photographer that, you work with Nike by just working with Nike. That's not how it works. There's usually a middleman company that pitches Nike and mentors or consults Nike on what they should be doing, how they should be doing it, and then they actually connect Nike with the creative forces that can do it. And that's a role that he plays. Like the Nike Just Do It campaign, Nike didn't come up with that. Somebody came up with that, an advertising company. The famous Michael Jordan and Spike Lee campaign, Jordan, Breen, and Nike didn't come up with that. Advertising agency pitched that. So what you all gonna learn today is what's it like working at one of those advertising companies. How you all may not know this, but just because you're a creative, you're a photographer, you're a designer, doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. You can literally go work for some of the biggest brands in the world by working at an advertising agency and doing exactly what he does. And you'll be on these sets, you'll be creating spots that show up on Super Bowl commercials and all that. And he's gonna give a lot of gems around what that industry is like and what opportunities exist out there. Because quite frankly, the advertising agency is missing us, if you know what I mean. And that's something that we've been working together on to try to change. But as a result of it, a lot of us don't know that that opportunity exists. It's a scarcity of us inside of advertising schools. And as a result, the pickings for these top advertising companies have slim pickings when it comes to picking Black talent and Black creative voices to join them to create these campaigns. And that's how you get these campaigns that you see sometimes that are out of touch, that don't really have us. You could tell we ain't involved in that. Like, why'd y'all come up with that? But then you'll see some that hit it right on the money and have that, and you can tell the brands and the companies that are doing it right. And Chris and his agency is one of those companies that are doing it right. It's one of those companies that are advocating for more of us to be in the room, and is making sure that he takes time to ensure that we are in the room. He did that for me. I think he's going to present opportunity for maybe you all or the next generation as well. But he made sure my voice, somebody else influential within my culture, was able to put it on an advertising scale. So I'm super excited, as y'all can tell, about tonight. This is going to be dope. But without further ado, my guy Chris, I want to welcome you to the stage. Yeah, so here's my janky table. So you know what I mean? Come around here.
Hello, everyone. And Cam makes me sound way cooler than I am, which is why I hang out with Cam. But before we jump into the presentation, a little pop quiz. Can anybody name 5 ad agencies? There you go. That's a start. Is that it?
6 degrees.
6 degrees? Yes, we work with 6 degrees.
Is one more one?
I think, yeah, you could consider one more. It's kind of like a talent. That's part of the challenge, right? Is trying to. There's so many different types of agencies, and that word can mean anything from a company that builds huge websites to a company that makes TV commercials to a company that does influencer campaigns. So we're going to go through some of that stuff. But as I was thinking about tonight's talk, I think for me, hopefully everybody knows, please ask lots of questions. This isn't meant, certainly isn't, I've taught over the years, many years ago, but I am not a professor, that's for sure. I certainly love advertising and love creativity. I think probably my favorite thing about being in advertising is all the cool, creative people I've met throughout the years, dating myself, but I've been doing this for 26 years, which, yeah, makes me feel old. But throughout the years, I've worked with, honestly, crazily a lot of music artists. And when I started out in this, to be quite honest. I was 22, had a new baby, and I needed a job. And I never thought I'd be sitting here, and I certainly never thought I'd own an advertising agency that has 160 employees. So, I consider myself blessed, and I think what Cam and I connect on is we love the work, we love making the stuff, and then we love, hopefully, I think probably, I've learned a lot from Cam, truthfully. He's done so much in the community, and I think he's always been that way. He's always been about helping others, and I think that's probably also one of my favorite things about the Atlanta creative community is how much Cam jokes about, when we met in a restaurant right around the corner, and we probably chopped it up 4 or 5 times and talked, and then one day I needed a photographer, and I called a friend who was actually in the music business, and I said, because I saw Cam's website, and I didn't know Cam was Cam, and I was like, oh, this guy's fucking amazing. We need to hire this guy. He's what we need. And so, I submitted one of those generic forms online, and Cam didn't get back to me so quick. And then, so I bumped into this other friend of mine, and he said, I'll find him for you. And sure enough, the next day or that night, Cam called me, and then we were like, wait a minute, we know each other. This is weird. But over the years, it's just been great to watch his career really grow. I'm sure one day he's going to buy my agency, and then I'll retire. But truthfully, he between all the different things he does for the community, the gallery, the trash, I don't know, what is that called again, Cam? Sorry.
It's called Spin the Block.
Spin the Block, sorry, yeah. And I remember when you first, talked about doing that. So again, I know I'm bouncing all over the place, which I tend to do, just bear with me. But I think if you like making stuff and you want to make stuff for a living, there's so many people that I never wanted to go into advertising, to be honest. Then I started doing it. I was like, I get to make cool shit for a living and go cool places and film and hang out with cool people, and that's a pretty good way to live. So, it's not a lot different than being in the music industry or, even being a photographer. I certainly consider myself at this point an entrepreneur, but it's not how it started for me. It started for me as I need a job, and then kind of figured it out as I went. And I'm like a 90-year-old person when it comes to technology, so please bear with me. We have a presentation here. So, music business, $28 billion in revenue globally generated in the music business every year. I just started thinking about this as we were talking about this class. And I was like, okay, so how much, I didn't even know this. I've been working in the ad industry for 26 years, and I didn't know how much revenue was generated in the advertising industry. Anybody want to take a guess?
If you say 28 billion in music, I would say maybe, I'd say about 5 billion. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of jobs, right? $781 billion. It's expected in 3 years to go over $1 trillion. So if you think about that, advertising is connected to everything. It's connected to music. It's connected to food. It's connected to sports. There's nothing, and probably, even government has advertising. So I was like, whoa, this is crazy. For me, again, I'm doing this for almost 3 decades. So just something to think about. And I'm not like here to recruit anyone or talk to anybody to go into advertising. I just think it's super important. Cam hit on a really important issue, which is traditionally advertising schools are like you go to college and then it's like a post degree. It's a 2-year program, and they're very niche and small. And honestly, I don't know if the challenger problem, and I've taught at those schools. I haven't taught at one in probably 15 years, but I don't know if the challenger problem was a lack of awareness in Black and brown communities or there were other barriers there. But for a long time, the pipeline to these major, my agency is this big in the world, right? 160 people, that sounds like a lot. There are holding companies that have 160,000 people that work for the whole company. So if you think about the size and scale, now that is probably 100 different businesses within it. But if you think about that size and scale, it's pretty wild. So hopefully, and again, please stop. I guess we can raise hands, pretend we're in an actual school, but please stop and ask questions. But I think my hope is to give you a general lay of the land of the ad industry, and then talk to you about the various different types of ad agencies, because there are a lot, like you said, Winmo, 6 Degrees, who we partner with a lot, and the trend right now is to kind of go more and more niche. What my agency does is a little different. We do kind of it all from, one of the things that advertising agencies do is buy media. So we negotiate deals with radio stations, with TV stations, with websites, and that sort of stuff. So it kind of runs the gamut through all of them. Next slide. So 30 times the revenue. That's pretty, right? I mean, again, I literally found this out 2 days ago when I Googled it, and it blew my mind. I'm going to ask myself for a raise. So I think the next slide, again, bear with me on 90, but the next slide is going to take you into a little brief. This is our pitch video for my agency. So we go into, Adidas or whomever, and it gives them a feel for our culture and also our work. I think, one thing my agency does a lot of is what's called earned media, and it seems to be a pretty big trend right now, which is, does anybody know what earned media is? So if you're, Red Bull, right? You have a budget of X amount of dollars. You can take that money and go buy TV spots and banner ads and radio spots. And let's say your budget's $2 million. $2 million to cover the entire United States. It's not going to work. It's not enough. So what a lot of times agencies do, clients will do, they will hire agencies to create moments that create PR. So we just did a campaign for Crystal with 2 Chainz, and that earned, I want to say, like 1 billion impressions on a pretty small budget. And if you think about Crystal as a regional brand, it's not a big brand. So there's a ton of added value. That's what we do for Netflix, and we'll share some of that work. So I'm bouncing all over the place, but hopefully what you'll get out of this is general lay of the land, and then all the different kinds of jobs there are in advertising. Because even in my business, there is a production studio, right? So the folks in our production studio tend to be digital artists. They sometimes have photography backgrounds. They have to know how to retouch things. And so it's kind of like an assembly line to make ideas. All right, here we go. Let's see if this plays something. Nope, lots of careers, all kinds of careers. I already said that. So there are so many types of agencies. We just talked about this. You beat me to the punch. So social event activation is what I would consider 6 Degrees. Do you guys know 6 Degrees?
Yeah.
Yes? They're way cooler than us. Media. So there are some agencies that just do media. There are some agencies that just do PR. Multicultural, which I think it's in there, just broke weird. And full service. So my agency is a full service agency. We do all these things. Chemistry is a full service agency and a cool guy on a skateboard. So our philosophy, and every agency kind of has their approach, is everything's an experiment. So when clients come to us, we tell them, we want to incur some of the risk of trying new things. So we kind of map out ways to try new things for them. And, because again, I think the new stat is like consumers see 15 or 10,000 ads a week. It's hard to stand out. So you got to find new and different ways to break through. And, I'd like to think we do it all day, every day, but it's certainly something we work hard to find ways to. Has anybody seen the side chick campaign for Crystal? No? Yeah? All right. He's my.
The whole butter tail thing on Northside?
No, but that 6 Degrees worked on that. But yeah, no, we just launched a campaign with Brittany Rayner. I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but right. Yes, did I say it right? Yes, and she's awesome. All right, so this is our pitch.
Innovations. Drive.
No. We're not about to show you the stereotypical agency hype piece, because that doesn't tell you anything. So instead, Allow us to introduce ourselves. We're chemistry, and we believe everything is an experiment. And we're here to blow shit up. Because we believe when you blow shit up, you make noise. People stop, they look. It gets you noticed, which makes you money. We mean successful. We've experimented with category conventions and blew that shit up. Because sometimes the tried and true is just empty. We blew up testing because when you have to pitch, win, and create a campaign in mere months, why would you go back to this?
I like it.
Like it? Great.
I hate it.
Hate it. We created the Market Research Lab to do in-the-wild testing that gets freaky fast consumer feedback in the form of memes and consumer quotes. We blew up traditional creative recruiting with the Ally Internship, an opportunity for young Black creatives who otherwise wouldn't have a path into advertising to get the chance they need to prove what they can do. We blew up who we hang out with, drifting away from the advertising bubble and instead going off the rails with monthly speakers from different creative industries. We blew up sports when we launched a winning team in a city known for losing and made soccer a part of the culture. We blew up movie premieres by kicking trailers to the curb for the Breaking Bad movie premiere and creating a 62-hour live stream of one man and plenty of anticipation. We blew up sneaker drops.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play.
Releasing Trey Young's limited colorway by bringing back a piece of iconic Atlanta history.
And parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
We blew up what it means to be an agency and partnered with local artists to turn street art into a powerful PSA. We even blew up how brands talk to Gen Z. Instead of tweet replies, how do you feel, fellow kids? We went to prom with a Peace Tea superfan. We experiment with everything, and sometimes it experiments back. But make no mistake, we don't just throw stuff against the wall to see what sticks. We calculate, measure, and test before we throw the right stuff at a very precise specific. Call us pyromaniacs, but we think blowing stuff up together would be beautiful. So what do you say? Ready to experiment?
So hopefully that gives you a little bit about what we're about as an agency. We've worked with, I mentioned Atlanta United. The Hawks were a client of ours for quite a while. Falcons are currently a client as well. We play a lot in the entertainment space. Netflix, we do probably about 3 big projects a year for them. And I think we've got some of that work in here as well. So, hopefully you can see advertising's kind of got its hands in everything. And again, it's a little more corporate than maybe some other creative jobs, to be honest. Like some of it is, but I'd say 70% of it isn't. 70% of it is making stuff with people who love to make stuff. And whether, traditional agency structure, usually how the creative teams work is there's a writer and an art director, and they're a team. So for example, at chemistry, I want to say we have probably, 8 or 9 creative teams. So they'll kind of almost pitch their ideas. They will pitch their ideas basically to creative directors who then kind of sort through and figure out, what makes the most sense for clients. And then sometimes, depending on the client, we will partner with, Cam. Cam has done everything from, first Atlanta United job was pretty ridiculous, truthfully, because they were just starting the team. And he wasn't kidding. I borrowed my neighbor's pickup truck. My neighbor used to own the bar that Cam and I met at 255 right over here. We borrowed my neighbor's pickup truck and went around Atlanta, and you'll see that video in here later as well, shooting, right? So it's not always this big glamorous, we've shot $1 million TV spots, but for us, it's more about we want to make cool stuff, because we know if we make cool stuff, we're going to win. I don't know that all agencies are built exactly that way, but I think a lot of the great creative agencies are. So I'd say if you do find yourself having some interest in advertising, just become a student of it, right? It's just like photographers. I'm sure you guys know all the great photographers or any other creative avenue. There are a lot of really cool agencies. I know Kim and I have done the Ally internship for several years now, and we've had talent that's came in and worked with us, and then some have come and worked at Chemistry, and then gone to honestly bigger and better agencies, like big time agencies in New York. I wouldn't say better, maybe just bigger. But point being is there's a lot of opportunity in this space if you're interested in it, but one of the biggest things is kind of, I hate to say it, but like being interested in it. You know what I mean? Like being passionate about it. Because if you love to write, there's an incredible shortage of Black writers, truthfully, in advertising. And so much so, and you'll see some resources here later, that bigger advertising conglomerates are now starting free global ad schools, because at the end of the day, they're fucked, truthfully, right? Because they know it's a problem, and they know they're going to step in piles of shit. And in terms of like they're not communicating to the full picture of everyone here, on our planet. They are literally in a bubble sometimes, and I think it's gotten a little better, but it's not something that you can snap a finger and fix, right? It's got to start in kind of this kind of stuff, truthfully, in my opinion, where folks who really want to be in creative fields know this is an option and then decide if they want to go after it. I mean, I don't know whose parents tell them to grow up and go into advertising. I don't think it really happens, So, I think that's just something to keep in the back of your head. So I think we're going to share some more work here. And again, I'm the worst. This is a job we did for Netflix this past year. It's a fun, silly job. We love doing fun, silly jobs. So they came to us where the problem was they weren't getting any credit for all these kind of popular reality dating shows they have. Like the whole, lineup of them. They might get credit for one show, but truthfully, ABC or somebody like that gets all the credit because in consumers' minds, right? Because The Bachelor, right? And then there's The Bachelor spinoffs. But Netflix has a ton of really popular dating shows. So this is one of those earned media opportunities that, we had to come up with a way to announce the launch of the new, season of dating shows and connect all these disparate shows. So you had, Love is Blind, and again, I can't even think of half of the names of the shows. Too Hot to Handle, Indian Matchmaker. You got to find a way to bring these all together and package them to consumers so they care about it. One little note as you look at this video, this was towards the tail end of the pandemic. So all of the talent we had to shoot via iPhones, around the world because we couldn't get producers there. It wasn't, the Netflix had pretty strict rules, as they should have. So this whole thing was done. We had a war room in our office with directors and whatnot, and we're directing them over iPhones, which is pretty wild, but pretty cool. Hopefully you'll enjoy it.
All that and more is happening on the next episode. Don't miss it.
And back.
Hello?
Hey, is this Nick Lachey?
Obviously.
Yo, it's Harry Jowsey.
Harry, how did you get this number?
Don't worry about it. Look, I made a boy band. Do you want to hear our new song?
Can't say no to that. Let's see what you got, rookie.
We know that dating can get real dry, but luckily, Netflix has endless ways for us to explore. Love has no off-season. It's coming back. It's not how it sounds. It's time to decide if the grass is greener on the other side. It's jumping through seasons. Here with mostly women.
has in this video.
Matchmaking comes back. Get you started, get you of love is blind. But let me see you know love for the first time. Take a second chance on your chance. Cause we don't need to try to find love. Open up your heart and be the real you. You don't have to smile. Our love is true. Love has no all-season. Netflix loves rich love. If you add me to yours, open up your heart and be the real you. You don't have to swipe, 'cause baby our love is true. Got hours of Netflix, please, and baby we're never leaving. Love has no all-season. No all-season. Love has no all-season. Love no all-season. Love has no all-season.
I'll give it a solid 97 degrees. Hey, can I listen to another one of these shows?
So again, the actual idea is, I mean, advertising is fun because it's kind of silly and dumb if you really think about it. But the idea was, okay, how are we going to launch all these separate shows? Let's make a cheesy 90s boy band album. The original idea, thank you pandemic, I sound like a jerk saying that because obviously the pandemic was pretty horrible. But we ended up having to shoot it remotely. The original thing was we were going to build a whole, New Edition style stage and have them all come in, but we just couldn't because of the pandemic. But that's an example of the type of work that we like making, but also, if you break that down, there's an art director who's working on that. There is a writer, and actually on this one, probably 2 or 3 writers who are writing lyrics for it. And then there's a creative director overseeing the whole thing. And even within them, then we bring in production partners who can pull off directing remotely, right? That's a very specific thing. So, and every job's very different. Like sometimes they're big, elaborate shoots with multiple locations, and sometimes they're like this. I think their budget, again, this is a giant global brand, was $50,000 for production on this. So, I mean, for context, 20 years ago, I was shooting TV spots where the budget was $3 million. So you could see, but again, that might have been more effective than the $3 million spot. So hopefully as we continue to go through these, I'm not even sure what's next, so let's just find out together. This is Atlanta United. This is a job we did last year, I believe. So Cam mentioned we did and actually we partnered with a couple of folks who work for Cam or with Cam on this job because it had a lot of different artistic elements, and you'll see in it. But so Atlanta United, every year, I don't know if you guys follow soccer, but in soccer culture, a big thing is the kits, the jerseys come out every year, and they're very specific. So one year it was the King Peach kit, the next year it's the black kit. I think the year before it was all about conservation, but I forget the name of it. Anyhow, it was green. So this kit was a special kit because they were the only soccer team in North America to get a third kit. And what a third kit is in soccer is if you have more sales than anyone else, Adidas will make another kit for you to sell because they win and you win. So it's kind of a big thing in soccer culture. So this kit's theme was unity. Again, it's Atlanta United, but with a bit of a global perspective. So what they tend to do for these launches is we have events, right? So the fans can come out and experience it. So we came up with the concept of, why don't we launch this kit at the Center for Civil and Human Rights and create like a immersive, it's not 3D, but a very rich, immersive, different experience. And so that's what we did. I'm not sure if this is the actual video or the case study. If it's a case study, I apologize. I just explained it all.
Unity has always been part of soccer, in Atlanta and across the world. Since its inception, Atlanta United has remained true to our city. More than a club, it's a reflection of Atlanta's culture. So in 2021, when Atlanta United will win the MLS Club Award in the third year, that kit couldn't just be another color fit. It had to represent our history, our culture, and the power of a beautiful game in our city to unite us all. With 13 messages of unity in 11 global languages, the unity kit will be born. And to launch it, we partnered with the Center for Civil and Human Rights to create an immersive audio visual exhibit that explores the unity of the beautiful game and all the unity of our city and the unity of our club. With 6 interactive screens, 124 unique franchises, the spatial audio that sounded different depending on what viewers heard, brought the unity kit to life at 360 degrees. Christmas Day, 1914. Soldiers put down their weapons and picked up the ball. 1994. South Africa is united through the power of soccer. This kit isn't just for us, it's for all of us. This is the Unity Kit. All right, guys, let's see it in person. Give it up for your star. This launch brought out supporters and club executives, but it also brought out the mayor of our city.
We have looked for things to unite us.
And a moment that felt big this year. Once and for all, the Unity Kit is for all of us. Then, now, forever united.
So again, we partnered, I don't think it was 6 Degrees on that one, but we partner with other agencies sometimes and production companies because we're not an event. That's probably the one area when I say full service, it's not our specialty, but we sort of, I don't know, creative director, quarterback, the whole thing. So hopefully, again, you're seeing something from video production to more immersive sort of 3D experience. This is the campaign we just launched with Crystal. And Crystal's doing some interesting, cool things. The owner brought in 2 Chainz as the chief creative marketing officer or some title like that. So we actually partnered with street execs here in Atlanta. And truthfully, the actual name of the product came from the guy who runs street execs. He was we were sitting in a meeting one day and he was like, we should call it Side Chick. I was like, fuck, that's brilliant. So we did. And then, you know, it's a very different, it's got a ton of press, which is great for them. Again, they're a little brand. If you think about the amount of money that Burger King spends to what Crystal spends, it's probably 1,000 to 1, truthfully. So we brought in Brittany, who, I don't know how many of you guys know her. She's an influencer. And again, it's very tongue-in-cheek, not trying to be, hopefully not too overly sexist or whatever you want to call it. But the idea behind the campaign is, so Crystal's known for sliders, small burgers, and the chicken wars with Popeyes and everything's kind of already happened, and people kind of already have their favorite chicken sandwich. So we're like, first of all, we're not going to win that because we're being outspent 1,000 to 1. But what if we ask people to cheat on their favorite chicken sandwich? Like, wouldn't that be a fun way in, right? So we can't, again, that's how we got to the name Side Chick. And then we got to this campaign, which is, again, it was on the Shade Room and a bunch of other stuff, and had a lot of success. So I'll go ahead and play. These are shorter spots. They buy back-to-back 15s is how their media plan works. So they're a little quicker.
Attention, a 10 is speaking. These 3 new Crystal Side Chicks are thicker, juicier, and crispier than ever. Keep your main thing if you want. I just want to be your side chick. The only side chicks I've seen that look better than me are these right here. Introducing 3 new thicker, juicier side chicks.
What's that? Go buy them, please. But they're doing well. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You know, they're a brand that had 40 straight weeks of declining sales. When the day this started, they're now up 11% entire system wide. So that's what marketing can do, you know, when you do it right. I think at least right. I think they've got a couple other examples. So this is a billboard on 85 right here in Atlanta. Another one might be the same one. It switches. So again, it's having fun with it. Like some people, like that's usually when you know it's good. You're gonna piss some people off. Like, to be honest, right? Again, there's a line. We don't want to be offensive, and to some people we will be. We actually focus group tested this, so we made sure, you know, like okay, where's the line? So we did some online focus group testing, and I want to say 80% of people loved it. There was probably 10% of people who were like meh, and then there were 10% of people who were offended. So we were okay with those numbers, you know.
So Chris, what was like the process of like the focus group online? Like how?
Yeah, that we use a company, partner with a company called Simpler. So if you think about old school, and I don't know again how familiar you guys are with focus groups, but basically old school focus groups are you pay people to show up and give their opinion, and it's I hate them as a creative. It's the worst thing on earth, truthfully, because all of a sudden you're putting folks who are getting paid to sit there and give an opinion. I don't know. A lot of times clients put a ton of weight in that, almost more than the agency they're paying a lot of money who've been, you know, the experts in it. So, and also there's a group dynamic to them, right? So if you have one person who's dominant, usually in the group, the rest of the group kind of follows suit because they're getting paid $20 an hour or $50 an hour, whatever they're getting paid. They're kind of there for the check. So we use a company called Simpler, and what they do is they create. We didn't test. This is before we made this stuff, so we just have like storyboards or basic artwork, and we test those in the wild, but in a different market. So a consumer will get that in Texas or somewhere where their crystal isn't, and then they'll be able to comment on it with like emojis, or so it's not so like forced. You know what I mean? So you can get a good sense of. It's a little, in my opinion, it's a little more honest than putting 30 people in a room and then, you know, maybe 2 people are very vocal and then the rest just sort of fall in line. And truthfully, nothing. Collaboration is amazing, but nothing creative, in my opinion, nothing great, no great creative comes out of committees. It's just not like how it works. I don't know. I'm dating myself. Anybody remember the Pontiac Aztec? That's always an example. It's a horrible car. Hopefully nobody here is a Pontiac Aztec. But like to me, that's like, is it a minivan? Is it a sports car? And they're like, I don't know, let's just make it all the things. And then they made the Pontiac Aztec and it failed miserably. So I think that's a lot like advertising too. And then this is just all the reactions of on social media. It's done really well. I want to say, I think it's somewhere, it's pretty nuts. It's somewhere around 1 billion impressions. Yeah.
I remember one day, like I kept opening up Twitter, and I kept seeing Breen and the chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Everybody kept retweeting it, and it just had so much engagement. People talking about it. So I know for a fact it's the engagement and impressions. It's like crazy.
Absolutely, and I think Cam hit on something super important. You know, and I've had other friends tell me this, and you know, it's a valuable lesson that I hope companies and agencies are learning. You gotta have people in the room that, you know, I'm trying to find the right way to say this. Like, if you're not representing the whole community, like that idea, while the guy who runs Street Execs is not, he is a marketer. He sells albums, right? But it was the nugget of the actual concept was his idea. We found a way to bring it to life in advertising because you got to factor in everything from budgets to shoots to production to all that stuff. But you had somebody in the room that could speak from a, I don't know, real place. I don't know, I wish I had a better way to describe it. And I think it's kind of shameful. It's taken America and the industry this long probably to understand that. But I think, you know, again, the guy who owns Crystal is a billionaire, and he came in and said, we got to do things differently, because Crystal's a 100-year-old Southern brand. It's really kind of dusty, you know, if you think about it. But this has brought them back to life in some ways, and hopefully it'll continue to get better and better. But it's just an important lesson for the industry, I think. Yes?
So if Crystals was not doing well on their numbers and then create this ad specifically targeting a certain demographic,
Who's talking? Sorry.
me, sorry.
Oh. I was like, this is freaky.
Do you guys tailor your ads to target a certain demographic?
Yes and no. Definitely media, right? So yes, and I realize I'm white, but I used to always again, if I look at the industry, there are what are called multicultural agencies. It's my belief that every agency should be a multicultural agency, right? Meaning there's no such thing as, when we say non-multicultural, what you mean is white, right? So, but that's just not America. Do you know what I mean? So, but the old school way, and I sat in meetings for huge brands, right, 20 years ago, and I thought it was offensive, and I'm a white guy, right? And I'm sitting there and I was like, okay, so now the guy from McDonald's is going to come in from the multicultural agency, and hopefully I don't offend anyone when I say this, but if I found it offensive, it was like, oh, we're just going to hit the very white button, right? We're going to take the white script and hit the very white button and use a different talent. And all of a sudden, that's what's going to make it culturally insightful to that audience. So again, I think the good news is, I think it's like a lot of things in life, like over time and, you know, things change. And I think the industry is moving to a better place, but certainly it has to continue to get better. But to answer your actual question, for sure, we target sometimes in messaging. I think
It's interesting that a campaign targeted towards a certain demographic brought their numbers up as a company as a whole.
yes, absolutely, that is true. And it's funny because data and research can almost tell you what you want it to tell you if you're not careful. And they had, you know, a long history and data and research that said these are our different demographics, right? And the CMO and a couple other folks within the organization were like, that's not really who's at our stores. You know what I mean? So they kind of bucked the data and said, like, no, we're gonna do this, right? And we're gonna see if this works. And that goes back to the experimenting part in the beginning, right? You gotta be willing to try new things. And then it also, I think, plays into the definition of multicultural is a little bit dated. There's that principle is still true, but at the same time, look at 2 Chainz, right? Like 60% of the kids listening to 2 Chainz are probably white suburban kids, right? At the end of it, so like there's like a very, I don't know, dated, in my opinion, sometimes over against, I guess, stereotyping of, like, to me this is mainstream, right? It is, yeah, right? Yeah, absolutely. So
I find it interesting that ad agencies are specifically targeting.
Absolutely, they are. I mean, and usually it happens it's most obvious at the media level, right?
Right.
Because, you know, people watch certain channels, people listen to certain stations. It's just they can track all that on their phone. Your phone knows more about you than you know about you. You know, so but absolutely, it is. Do you find it interesting in a good way or in a bad way?
I'm questioning that.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. It is the nature of the beast. I mean, record label, everybody's doing it. I hate to say it. I'm not trying to make an excuse for it. But I think it's interesting because it's a bit of a self-fulfilling thing.
Well, crystals are also located in urban areas.
Yeah. But also in very, very rural areas. So, but I think, again, there was a good chunk of people that thought oh, we can't run this here. And then they ran it, and guess what? People fucking liked it. Because guess what? We don't live in a cartoon. You know? Like, that's who's on the radio, that's who's on TV, that's how we're streaming, you know, content now. So, yeah, definitely a great, again, I'm going to bounce around again, but I think what's also great about that is, for what it's worth, I think it came from, I hate the word authentic, because I think it's like the word transparency. It's like a cliche that people use to, I don't know, be lazy. But I do think there was a genuine, like, okay, we're going to do this the right way. We're going to put somebody in charge who's coming from that POV, not somebody who's trying to, I don't know, again, it's weird. The term culture vulture, right? It's like, I think by saying culture vulture, I'm kind of a culture vulture. But my point is, like, I think the brand is trying to do it the right way. And I think a lot of brands, not all brands, on some level understand not only it's the right thing to do, but they're going to go out of business if they don't. Like, at the end of the day, it's about money, like, if we're being honest. And if you're not being completely representative, you're going to fail, you know, and clients are going to hold you accountable now. It's a different era than 20 years ago, and hopefully 20 years from now it'll be even better. Great question. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question. So, when you're pitching, say, a Crystal or Nike or whoever, whatever brand, on a particular project, you all focus on, hey, we're going to create a spot for I guess, regular television, or are we going to do something for specifically social media? Like, for example, it's obviously with just a regular spot, but we see it blow up on social media. Was that the goal, or is it a broader product? How do you all? Does that question make sense?
No, absolutely, 100%. That's a great question. Our philosophy, and this is an old school philosophy I learned at the first agency I worked at, is we tried to start, so we have writers and art directors. And writers and art directors want to go write and art direct, right? But we want to get them out of thinking about that problem and thinking about what does the business really need, and then the writing and the art directing can happen. So we always start with, what do we want the PR headline to be? Like, we close our eyes at the end of this campaign, what do we want what is the win for the client? And so if we have our creative shooting there, they're gonna write great lines, you know, again, like the tennis speaking, to be honest, it was written by this wonderful guy, and I love him, the whitest Georgia frat boy on the face of the earth. So, but it has a great line, and everybody loved it, and everybody, you know, went with it. But I guess the point being, like, he knew where the core of the idea was, and the core of the idea was, it's about cheating on chicken sandwiches and having some fun with that concept. So, did that answer your question?
I was just kind of like, how do you, I guess maybe a better question would be, how do you choose which medium to use?
Yeah, we like to use the term media agnostic, because we buy all kinds of media, but there are places, and sort of the old school model is, because, again, it's about money, there are billion-dollar agencies that were built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s off of TV, right?
Right.
So, of course they're going to sell you TV ideas, because that's how they make their money. And again, TV for 30, 40, 50 years was the primary media. That has now changed. So we don't try to start, sometimes clients come to us and say, you know, clients, it hasn't happened to us, I'm waiting for a client to knock on my door and say, we want a Super Bowl spot. But so sometimes you go with it, right? Sometimes you, when you, you know, depending where the client is in their, I don't know, marketing life cycle, they may have already, when we meet them, already have a media plan in place. So, but usually we try to find, we want them to say, give us your budget, and then we're going to figure out the best way to maximize that budget, rather than, you know, we just want to do TV, or we just want to do digital, because sometimes that doesn't make sense, you know? So it really doesn't, it's not how we're wired. Some agencies are, truthfully. Anybody else? Okay. I don't have any more hats. I'm trying not to over video you guys. has been. Yes.
Hi, so I have a question. In terms of like cancel culture, like
Yeah.
an advertising agent, like for example, Pepsi with Kendall Jenner.
Yes.
Being that she's getting canceled, who do they come after that? Like the writers, or is it the advertising company? I've always wanted to know that.
Well, I don't, you know, again, those companies, again, I've never had it. I've done work, we've worked with Coke, but usually we're doing like Peace Tea as a Coke brand. We're like this big in the Coke universe, right? That agency or the holding company called WPP that works with Coke primarily gets 90% of the budget. They own 100 agencies. Honestly, they usually just come for the top person. It's my understanding. Knock on wood. Hopefully, you know. But I think the truth of it is, there's never any guarantees, and sometimes it is the agency's fault. Sometimes the clients say, we love this person, we want to work with this person. I mean, and so it's never, I don't know that there's like a one size fits all for that, but somebody's getting fired, but I usually, I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy industry. So our clients usually are the chief marketing officers, CMOs, and the average CMO tenure is 24 months. Think about that. So you work your whole career. I get to be the king or queen, and the clock is ticking. You better make something great real fast. And then especially if you think about the world we live in now, where everything is trackable, like it sometimes takes time. It's like, I don't know, I'm gonna use a horrible dad analogy or whatever, but like pro sports teams, like nobody just like shows up and the next day they went from the worst team on the planet to the best team. It's just not how it works. You can, maybe have a moment, but it takes time to build, So, but yeah, it definitely, and that's an interesting thing that, even think about all the stuff that's going on with Kanye, right? Like, but there's a lot of that. There's, it's called brand safety, right? And it's a slippery slope. So I'm sure it'll go in cycles. Everything in advertising, just like everything in music, everything in fashion, it goes in cycles. Somebody does it, they're brilliant at it. Somebody makes $1 billion, then everybody tries to do it, and they make $500 million, and then somebody does it and they fail miserably, and everybody goes, "Don't do that, do that." So not sure what we got. Do we have any more? Good. Okay. Good. Okay. So this one was this is one of my favorite projects I think I've ever done in my career, and it's it's a nonprofit. It was a friend of mine who's actually in the advertising industry, and another friend of mine who is a pretty well-known muralist. Although if he heard me call him a muralist, he'd punch me in my face. But just to explain, there's a lot of street art. So when the pandemic, I'm trying to remember, I think this is the case study, so I'm going to stop over explaining things not the case study. But I don't know if anybody saw the masks during the pandemic over all the street art, but it was up and it was pretty cool.
COVID-19 is exposing long-standing rifts in American society.
It's an epidemic jumping on top of a bunch of other epidemics.
What the United States government did was shameful.
We're not worried about it at all.
It's on this thing.
You've got to start screaming this to the black community, or you're going to have a catastrophe on your hands.
Sherry J. Scott is trying to use her art to alert and inform those who are most at risk.
Big Fat X is 100% volunteer campaign. Whatever the messages were about prevention, they weren't hitting my community.
These larger-than-life depictions in West End and Cabbagetown, impossible to miss.
We have some amazing talented muralists in the city. Without Breen, she masks their murals for us.
Turning the mural into a statement saying, "Hey, put on your mask and stop the infection."
Tired of seeing black men die.
As people are out and about, protesting, voting, important that we're smart while we're doing it.
Masks make a big difference. Dr. Fauci said
All eyes are on Georgia. The makeup of Senate hanging in the back.
done.
Big facts, small acts.
Big facts, small acts.
It's so simple. Simple as 1, 2, 3. Back on your feet, you gotta hold your head high. Let them know we right here forever. We ain't going nowhere to the end of the world.
It's a reminder. We have a history of surviving.
So that was a campaign that started here. It's pretty amazing. She literally called me up. And it sounds like a movie. It's really actually fucking happened. She was in Kroger at the beginning of the pandemic, and there was a girl behind the counter who was crying because she had to work. She had to be there. Nobody was wearing masks, and she was like, "What can we do?" And that's how that started. It ended up. Our business is pretty crazy, but like that's what I mean. If you focus on the ideas, and you make things that, I don't know, for lack of a better description, make a difference and an impact. Like, we didn't set out to that ended up winning Fast Company picks 30 world-changing ideas globally in a year, and it won one of those. It won we didn't set out to win trophies. We set out to help a friend, but it turned into a thing. Chemistry was named, in our industry, Ad Age is one of the big publications. We were named the best, I hate the term small agency, but small agency in America. And that campaign won the best campaign in America that year. And again, it started from a place of how can we use our creative tools to help the community? So super proud of that one. Just figured I'd share that. But, what should we have next? Because I'm bad at presentations, which is weird because of the industry I'm in. But this is Throwback Thursday, and I noticed on my phone today I probably should have just put TR. Throwback. How do you do the industry? There you go. Yes, that's true. But so Cam and I, this is the first job we ever did. So we get a throwback of the job we did together. So this was launching Atlantic. So what it's not showing there is it was really done in the Tabernacle. We had the big event. So,
yeah, I remember that.
So the minute that ended, players came out in the uniforms with all the smoke and all that stuff. So, but we literally shot that out of the back of my neighbor's pickup truck.
I remember that.
And I remember it was the World Series because I was pissed. I was missing the World Series, but yeah, it was great. And thinking back on it, again, it's just we wanted to make something cool, and it ended up, I think, helping Cam's career, and obviously it's helped my career and our agency. I think that's about it. I don't know if you guys know about the Ally internship, but this is something I don't know how many years it's been now. Cam, I don't know if Cam's in here, but I'm super proud of this because, again, Cam and I were trying to figure out a way to help with the industry problem, which is the lack of diversity in the creative space, right? But also partner with not just ad agencies. So the Ally internship, the thing I love about it, the beautiful thing to me is not only does it expose folks who maybe wouldn't think of advertising as a career, like it's a paid internship, 5 days a week. The students spend, I forget, it's 2 days at our office or 3 days at our office and then 2 days with Cam. So not only do they learn advertising, but they learn adjacent whether it's photography, we've now expanded it to other Black-owned businesses. So basically, chemistry pays for it and funds it, but it's helping chemistry. It's also helping the industry, but it's more importantly, in my opinion, helping the students, and it's exposing them to advertising, but also Cam is an amazing entrepreneur. So he gets to pick, they get to pick his brain and learn that side of it, which I think is super important regardless. So, we're looking to continue that as well. And Cam looks way cooler in purple than I do. I think that's about it. Lots of careers. This is just a theme here. All kinds of careers, creative careers. And the font did not load correctly, and I apologize. It's kind of bad for an ad agency. But I just want to leave you guys with a couple of resources as well, and then we can talk for days. But Advertising for Change is an organization our agency's part of, and the reason we committed to that organization is it's, for the most part, probably the 9 or 10 biggest advertising agencies in Atlanta, and collectively we probably employ like 1,200 people. So all of those agencies, in order to join, have to make commitments, like real commitments, like hiring. You got to hire X amount of people and that kind of stuff. So you can go there and it will list those agencies. And again, if you want to get into this field, be a student of the game. I can tell you some names of some wonderful agencies. Wyden & Kennedy, truthfully, they've been the standard for 40 years. They've had Nike for 40 years. Everything from, I'm dating myself, but the Mars Blackman Nike campaign, anybody remember that? They did that. They did Colin Kaepernick, Dream Crazy, and everything in between. So they have an event here. I can't believe I'm advertising for another agency. This is hurting my soul. But it's a great thing. They have a thing here called CultureCon. They just did it. They'll do one next year. That's actually put on by Wyden & Kennedy. So they're a big global, again, they've probably got, 3,000 employees or something like that. One School US, the one show is what it's like the Grammys for advertising. It's one of the biggest award shows globally. And so they have a lot of clout. So it's like if the Grammys were taking their clout, and they have created a relatively short curriculum for people who are interested in, and they're pretty selective, like you have to apply and they only pick X amount of people, and they do them all over the globe now. But you're getting taught by the best people in the industry, truthfully, and students are going to that program and coming straight out and getting jobs at world-class agencies, right? So that's another great resource. Miami Ad School is more the traditional. It's weird, it's Miami Ad School, but they're headquartered here. Miami Ad School actually there's a school called the Portfolio Center, and they have all kinds of programs, and I know they're changing their business model, so that'd be another one to check. It's chemistry, shameful plug. And then there's my email. If you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to help. I'm not that smart, but I've been around a long time. And I'm happy to stick around and answer questions. I don't know if anybody has any. I think Cam's going to come back out here in a minute with the smoke and stuff. So who here is a photographer, who here does retouching? That's a great skill. That's a not that photography isn't, but those types of digital skills translate into the ad world. And again, I'm not trying to talk y'all into going into advertising, but I think sometimes, it can open doors, even if you do it for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, advertising generally pays pretty well. I want to say probably a typical entry level job is around 50 grand. And then depending at the agency, people make good money. And so certainly hope you kind of dig in, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there have you ever had any shitty moments?
Oh yeah, lots of. Yeah.
Tell us a story.
I don't know how to put those in there. Let me back up, and then I'll try to think of an actual one that I can think of on the spot. But I will say the thing I've learned is us as an agency and myself, usually when I fail and I'm mad at myself for failing is when I'm not being myself. When either the client's so big or I think I can't be myself with the client, or our agency can't act like how it's supposed to. So I think we've gotten, hopefully, I don't know, it's imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, but I think whenever I've had like, oh boy, that sucked and went horribly poorly, it's usually because we didn't shoot our shot the way we normally shoot our shot for a variety of reasons. Trying to think of, you put me on the spot. I'm trying to think of like an actual, outside of just getting fired because you
Oh
screwed
no,
something.
well maybe if you didn't make the client happy, or if you had issues giving them like a visual.
Well, I will name one. Actually, happened pretty recently, and I'm probably pretty tough on myself. But we have a large global hotel company that owns a bunch of hotel brands, and they came to us to reposition one of their global brands. And the client is truthfully a little conservative, and so I think we played it conservatively, and we didn't put our best work out there, and they fired us, which is fine. I mean, looking back on it, would fire me too. But I think that's what I mean. Those types of lessons. I've also had, even like early in my career, especially, honestly, it's not even like bad things, but just ridiculous sort of. Like this is more just a fun random story. So my very first job was a great agency, which is now not nearly as great, and it's sad, but it was an agency called Crispin Porter Vigusky. Goes by CPB. They did, first campaigns I worked on was Truth Anti-Smoking, the original Truth Anti-Smoking, and the And One mixtapes. We created those. My boss is super famous and retired, and I don't know, if I ever need money, I'm going to beg him for it. But he was kind of like a larger than life personality. And mind you, I'm 20, my degree's in criminology, okay? So I had no business. I actually started in they don't even have this job now. It's called traffic, which is basically human email, which is like running jobs between departments, kind of like a PA, right? And I said, can you just let me write at night? And so they let me write at night on the leftover stuff. The agency was blowing up and went from probably 60 people to 1,000 people in 3 years, maybe 5 years. And so my boss, his name's Alex Bogusky, is a character to say the least. So I'm going on my first vacation ever, right? Paid vacation ever. I'm 22. And so he calls me in his office, and we did a campaign for a silly little product called Route 100 Ginseng Chew, which is basically dip, but made out of ginseng. And the whole product benefit was supposedly it had like made you better in bed kind of thing. So we did these ridiculous fake Surgeon General warnings that were like poking fun at smoking. So one was like, Mr. Surgeon General tried some once and Mrs. Surgeon General wrote us a nice thank you note. So this is like scary warning and then that, right? So, and we had one about the Marlboro Man tying up his horse, being kinky. And so I'm going to go on vacation, and calls me in his office, and I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I do? I misspelled the client's name or something. And he sits me down and he says, we're getting sued by Marlboro for $30 million. Is that accurate? And I'm like, I all the blood left my body. I'm like, I'm going to Orlando for 2 days. I was like, that was, yes. And then I hear giggling, and I look back, and it's all the other like super senior creatives just fucking busting out laughing. He was just totally messing with me. But again, there is a lot of that, like personalities in the industry. So that was a story that obviously has stuck with me 25 plus years later. So, but there's a lot of those kind of stories. A lot of trial and error. I'm certainly not a natural. Some people are great presenters, and in my industry, that's kind of the thing, but that's just not my strength. But, I think hopefully what clients see is I really do care and I'm passionate about the work, and the work hopefully speaks more than I do. But so yeah, no, just so many great experiences and places and things we've been able to do through the years. Been able to work with Future, 2 Chainz. Again, I've worked probably with 2 Chainz. We've worked with him here with Elaine United. So many artists, I can't even draw blanks on that, but a lot of music artists, which I never even thought like advertising puts you in that world, but it kind of does. And even athletes and sports and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been a fun ride so far.
How do you stay creative when you're taking on all these projects?
So, the way I view it now, I never thought I would like doing it, to be honest. Like, I was always the guy, like, for years and years, I was a freelance writer. Like, I worked at agencies then, and I think freelance writing trained me and I didn't even know I was being trained for owning an agency. So I was always the guy other agencies called when the shit hit the fan. So all I would worry about was writing, right? That's my background, I'm a writer, so I'd write. Now I have a creative department of about 30 people, who they're all writers and art directors, and I never thought I would enjoy. I'm gonna get to the actual answer, but I never thought I would enjoy what is people management part of the job. But it's actually my favorite part of the job is like being able to like figure out like, okay, this person would be awesome for this, or wow, this person gets it, or this person's just ambitious as fuck and they're gonna figure it out, right? And putting teams together and then clearing paths for those teams to do their best work. So I don't usually write much, or usually when I'm helping is more helping on the strategy end, and then there's people who are honestly better than me, and that's the fun part. Like, just keep getting better. Like, I think people in the creative industry, especially in advertising, who peak are people who want to be the smartest people in the room. I saw my SAT scores. I know I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I'm completely fine with that. And I think even my business partner is sort of cut from that. His SAT score is probably better than mine, but we both are pretty passionate about like wanting to do the thing. And I think that's what's super duper important in this business is people who you gotta enjoy the process. I'm gonna use again another horrible sports analogy, but like baseball. If you're thinking about being a professional baseball player, you're getting paid $20 million a year to fail 7 out of 10 times. Right? Mm-hmm. That's fucking hard, right? And that's probably why most people aren't professional based, like obviously athletic, ability has a lot to do with it. But advertising is a lot the same way, and I'm guessing music and in some regards photography. Like, you gotta like the process of doing it, because it's like 8 no's for every yes, right? And that's hard. You do it over years and years, and then you figure out like, I take satisfaction in knowing we put our best foot forward. And then whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? Because I can't control everything. So I think to answer your question, one, I think I'm just a fan of great creative. So for me, it's more about curating people sounds creepy, but curating ideas through people, like people who are great at specific things and how they can fit together. But ultimately, you just got to love doing it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you studied specifically
Absolutely.
within the industry so that you could kind of get some type of leeway, being that you was like kind of studying criminology, not thinking about this?
I don't know what I was thinking to say criminology. But I did, my first job was placing kids in rehab programs. I did it for 2 weeks and I was not cut out for it. Yes, there was a great book and it's been updated since then, and it's old school. So like, again, I started in this business in '96, right? It's by a guy named Luke Sullivan. It's called Hey Whipple, Squeeze This. He ended up becoming a real famous creative director. But what I love about it is it's kind of like advertising for dummies. Advertising is not hard. What's hard is blocking out all the noise and solving the problem, not getting distracted by all the other things around the problem. So to me, and then I had my first boss, who was not that guy, my immediate boss. I'm going to name his name, and I know he won't be watching. His name is Bill Wright, but he was the best thing for me at the time because he was like a tough teacher, you know? And so I used to literally sit in my office and go, what would Bill write? His name, Bill Wright. Actually, his name was Bill Wright, which was weird. But I would literally do that. And then I would, you know, think about, you know, I'd read the books, and I read that book, and it was like, you know, the Bible to me. Because it was just, it broke it down and made me understand things in and it made it fun, right? I could still name a page out of that book from almost 30 years ago. It was literally an example of an ad that he did a line drawing of, like just a little stick figure drawing of for Nike. But he showed like, this is how brilliant this ad is. This ad is brilliant if I do it in the stick figure. And it was a stick figure of a guy jumping. And it said, Michael Jordan 1 or 2 or whatever, gravity 0. Little Nike swoosh. And I was like, I'm fucking smart. Good, you get it, right? Now, you see the actual ad, it's Michael Jordan, you know, beautiful photography and all that stuff. But, you know, I think that book in particular, and there's a lot of others of more current books that I could, if you guys want to email me, I can send you a list. Or I just can't think of it off the top.
Does chemistry only work with established businesses?
I'm sorry?
Does chemistry only work with established businesses?
No. I mean, again, the Big Fat Small Axe was a friend of a friend. Like, she's a good friend, and we worked in the business together for years. So no, no. It was very. I'm not good at short answers. If you have to see, I think out loud. But no. What's your business? What you got?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
One-on-one.
Yes, we need to sign an NDA. Everyone. But
anybody else any questions?
Kind of have a one-on-one type of question that I would ask.
Cool.
Sure, absolutely. I'm here.
Want to definitely leave time for that. So before anything, just give a round of applause for Chris and everything. Totally appreciate you taking the time to do this. This means a lot. I hope you all got a lot out of it. I know I saw the presentation. It's pretty thorough, so hope you all are inspired and at least are open up to another opportunity, another way that you can use your creative talents to possibly enter the advertising agency, anything of that nature. I know we definitely wanted to also today take the time to use this as an opportunity to also provide you all with an exclusive opportunity for showing up here today. And I know you covered the Ally internship, but we want to open up the Ally internship first exclusively to you all and open up an opportunity for you all to be one of the recipients of this year's Ally internship. It is a paid internship where you work here at Camp Kirk Studios and at Chemistry, learning things that we do here, but at the same time getting that direct knowledge and insight, working directly with Chris and his team on how it is to actually enter the advertising agency. We've been doing this for 3 years now.
Yeah.
We've had about 3 terms of it. Really good testimonial stories. Some individuals that went on to do some really good things. But it's our way of coming together and making sure the advertising industry sees a lot more of our faces and our creativity within the room. So on behalf of me and Chris, and thank you for him coming here, he also wanted to extend it exclusively to you all. Y'all don't see us post this on Instagram, it's not out right now, but it is an opportunity that we want you all to take the first stab at. Now, if you all choose not to take advantage, we will open it up to the public.
No pressure, because you might have way better jobs. So. Yeah, that's not the point of it. I think the point is, if you think it might be interesting, we want to help. Sorry.
Nah, oh, definitely. Nah, for sure. So if you all would like to apply, the email that we need you all to fill out, you're just going to share your resume or a simple email to, is apply@chemistryagency.com.
Is it open to like college students only, or?
It's open to anybody. I don't believe we put an age limit on it.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think the whole point is it can be anyone.
Yeah, it can be anybody. I mean, it is a commitment of time. So we're pretty flexible, but working at Kim, it is a commitment of time. So it's not something that we take lightly. You're going to work directly on, businesses that I'm sure he has a lot of invested interest in. And at the same time, I'm very invested in my business. So it's a real job, it's a real opportunity, and obviously we look for people to take it very serious and they want to bring something to the table. But if you do that, we can promise you we'll match that energy with the resources and knowledge that we have and help give you a leg up on trying to do it. I know the goal for Chris, I want to speak for you, but it's to hire him full time from the program, and he's done that. He's put his money where his mouth is when it comes to that. So if you take the opportunity and if you are one-on-one shows, it's a real opportunity for you to get your first, job within the advertising agency working with some of the major brands that he's mentioned already. So it's a very serious thing. We're really excited to continue to do it and to continue to be the change that we want to see. So we hope you all take advantage of it for sure. And good.
What all information? Just the resume? Or did you like a summary or anything?
I would tell you to use your best judgment. It's a real job, you know what I mean? So I would encourage you all without giving y'all the full cheat sheet. But he's here. Yeah, this is the person that's going to review it. I'll make sure he knows your name so when he sees it come across the email, he recognizes it. I'm going to give you all time to, I believe he's still here, so one-on-one, do your thing. But as you would apply to any job, take it serious. I'm very serious about my business here as well. Although we're creative, we still expect professionalism. So you wouldn't just apply to any job or just say any type of thing. You know what I mean? So if you're not familiar with how to apply to a job correctly, Google it, ask a friend, ask him while he's here how you would like to receive your resume or cover letter. Yeah, just make sure you do it professionally, but yeah, no extra pressure. But we will leave it to you all, at least for the next, probably a week. I won't put it up or tell anybody else about it. So you all have first dibs at, impressing us or fine. Sure. And he's here. I want
feel like a whole baseball player right now.
He's here. He's here. Feel free to have a donut, have a snack. Yes. Pick his ear, bend his ear a little bit. He's here. So, we appreciate you all again.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
We got our certificate of completion up here for you guys. I'm sure to sign it. And then we're gonna also take you. I'll let y'all
Facts.
That's wild.
Well, I'm here for you guys, water, some drinks. So if you guys want to take a piece of that, we'll weigh in. We're going to go a little real quick, and then we will.
You want to see something crazy? That's Cam's signature. That's my signature.
It's so creepy.
That's crazy. Cam, come here. I say this. We can definitely forge each other's checks. That's crazy.
It is.
Almost. It's pretty close.
So wait,
I started overspelling my last name just because I feel like I was.
Nah, we definitely have the same.
It's wild, bro.
Well, yeah, there we go.
Thank you all again.
Sure. You'll be like,
actually, no.
No, my name is Imani. I was actually going to ask you if chemistry was hiring.
We are in all kinds of departments. So
Okay, I did creative directing and head of operations at Von Allen, which was a media and marketing. So last year is when I took a break and I went into corporate America because I do have a son and I was trying to redefine myself. He's 7. Yeah, yes it is.
I got a 26 and a 21-year-old.
Oh, you look great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how was that growing period?
They it's tough. 2 girls, so
Oh yeah.
I mean I love them.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I joke they raised me, but girls are smarter than boys.
Right. Yeah, I think it's more so like boys just want to go get it so quick, and girls kind of chill, relax, kind of pay attention. Like, this is
Boys are burning, smashing.
Yeah, smash and grab.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm definitely been bored at my job and knowing that my creative juices are going crazy, and I've been
Where are you working?
Right now, I've been doing mortgage and underwriting.
Okay, cool. We actually have a client that does it's called Finance in America. That is, I'm not saying you should work on that, but I'm just saying we plan that. And that's the weird advertising fun part about it. Like, I know this much about every business on earth at this point.
Yes.
So work with so many different types of-
Yeah, and it's just not, it's something that I enjoy that I'm glad I've learned, but it's not like my fulfillment in life.
Gotcha.
And I'm so hungry because I'm like, I'm 27, I'm reaching my 30s, and I have this creative juice son, and I see all of me inside of him, and I want to show him that you don't have to settle for what may pay you what you want, and sometimes you can just go for it and go what you want to do, and that's what I'm really on right now. And when I was looking at your website prior to coming to here, and I read the slogan of like, we just try it out, we just see if it works. That's such my motto in life, and I felt so connected to that. And I was like, I got time for this class. I'm like,
very cool. Yeah, I'm thankful you came. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why we did this. So, yeah, definitely shoot me an email and hopefully can help in any way.
Definitely, I definitely hope so. Look forward to seeing you again.
Great to meet you. Alrighty. So you're 7.
8 in January.
Okay. What's the birthday?
January 18th.
Mine's 21st.
Really? Okay, so it's a Valentine.
Yeah.
And my grandmother named him Legend, so he's completely that type of guy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and
You as well.
look forward to chatting again.
Definitely.
Awesome. Hey man, how you doing, Chris? I'm Kyle. Great to meet you. Thank you for coming. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I do not say marketing agency that
Okay. Cool.
So I was actually going to see if I was doing some shit about that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested.
Cool. Definitely. What's your background?
So right now I'm doing like graphic design.
Gotcha.
Google ads. I do Facebook ads. I'm trying to share Google ads. Pretty much doing all like the social.
So I'm not trying to be prior or whatever, but like school wise, what you study?
Oh, I'm marketing.
Okay, okay, cool. So you're in school. That's what I meant. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
I'm definitely looking for
great. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Definitely. Shoot me an email. Hope to help in any way. All right. Awesome.
I do have a
cool. Oh, great, man. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great to meet you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, my name is Kirk. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you.
I don't really know where to start and explain what I do. I do so many things, but I guess I would start with I'm a digital artist and entrepreneur centered in like events in Atlanta. After I graduated high school, a couple friends of mine, I started doing like warehouse type of parties and shows for our friends that were growing as artists, and over time that turned into booking real venues and finding like an identity of what we wanted this to be. Artists that would get on our platform started to blow up and things like that. Our name is Lotus Rosary. We throw ultimately our goal is to be a music festival. Oh, very cool. Here to see someone like Shaky News, Music in Town, Music Fest. Very cool. I have a few questions for my brand, and I have a few questions for my personal career.
Yeah. Love to help any way possible.
So, outside of throwing our own events and our own custom themed concerts in Lotus Rosary, we also consider ourselves what we've been calling a creative agency, where we offer all the event services that we do for ourselves for other event companies as well. Where do you feel like, to me, that sounds the most like the event agency?
Yeah, they call their from event to activation. So 6 Degrees, you're familiar with those guys? Yeah, they're kind of in that space. Obviously, they don't have their own music festival, so that's a little different. But yeah, I mean that definitely sounds like the area.
Right. I was wondering, in terms of my brand, where do you feel like we should focus our energy at as an event agency? We do promotion, we do branding, email marketing, set design, booking.
I guess, is there, so when I started my first agency, which then we then merged and became this bigger agency, for me, I always was like, I want to start an agency like agency anywhere. So for me, I would start like, there's nothing wrong with using other people. Using sounds like the wrong word. but studying, right, to figure out where your space is. So, I think that would be an important part of it, is like, do some digging and find the other agencies that are playing in that space, and, oh, that's cool, I like what they did there, oh, I like what they did, and then you probably make your own, probably figure things out as much that way as anything else. And then also, what's the goal? Right? Like, how many, what's the dream? Do you want to be Endeavor, who's 100, 200, 300 people? Do you want to be boutique? And, do you want to, obviously, money's a big part of it. So, if the goal is, what are your challenges? Is the challenge finding sponsors, or is the challenge finding clients?
I would say our challenge is finding investors. I feel like we have everything we need except for the actual money. We have a strong team of creatives from every art medium you could possibly imagine. We have sponsors that are behind our backs. We have plenty of other local hip hop centric brands in Atlanta. Kirk Studios, Collective Galaxy, one of them. Cool. That are on our side. From things like that all the way up to city officials.
Can I ask a dumb question? Have you talked to Cam about it?
I mean, Cam knows all about our brand.
But that's not what I asked you. Have you talked to Cam about it?
About investing?
No, it's just about advice. How to help. What advice would he give?
Not yet, but my business partner, Omar, definitely.
Okay. Oh, I met your business partner.
All right, guys. Real quick.
I was here when they.
Real quick. We're gonna get everybody seated down for this group photo. I know we have the one-on-one. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, you're good. You're good.
Got going on.
You're good.
But I saw y'all was having a good conversation. I want to make sure that we get this so that y'all can have as much time to talk as y'all would like. I would encourage everybody to move towards the front. Chris, we're gonna have you sit on this side as well.
Chris is still big Chris up. I want to get sitting here.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a seat. Grab a seat for you. I sit right there, brother. All right, cool.
If you need this, I got this right.
I'm gonna get in between y'all in the front right quick. I'm gonna scoop. If I get you a little bit to the right moment. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yes, I feel cool already. I'm gonna come sit this way. We gonna move it.
Turn this so you can get your lighting together.
Yeah, man. Going off y'all, man.
Y'all got y'all the diplomas?
Got y'all diplomas?
No. Actually, I was thinking of the whole time. Oh, thank you.
There you go. Go.
Personality.
Hey.
All right,
you walk across the stage, you shake the hand?
Yeah.
Huh?
All right, for this shot, I'm gonna need to give y'all a couple takes. I'm gonna count down. I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, and then I want everybody to hold their certificates up in front of them. We'll probably run it 2 or 3 times.
Not in front.
Get it right. Well, not in front of your face. You don't want to block your face. You know what I mean?
Right.
Good enough. Good enough. But everybody in the back can hear me. Everybody heard that? Everybody heard that going? Okay, cool. So everybody ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Let's do it again. This time more like when I 3, 2, 1. I want everybody kind of to hold it up at that one. So that makes sense. Not too high. Don't block the first one.
We're gonna scream nice school when we do it too, okay?
Yeah.
On one, we're gonna say nice school.
Hold them up. Yes. There we go. I like that. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1.
Nice school. Smiles.
One more time, and that'll be it.
Is that a video?
I thought it was a still.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the still.
We're doing it both. We'll run it again. I got you.
Yes, we definitely want a video.
So, all right, this is video, just so everybody knows. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Nice
school. There we go. One more time. 3, 2, 1.
Nice school.
Perfect.
All right, I'm gonna get this still real quick. I'm gonna take a couple, so we're gonna be real. It's real smooth and easy. I just want to make sure it's light right. Here, I'm gonna get high up. Get light right. And then I'm gonna just need everybody to just kind of come in a little bit tighter, if y'all can. Probably like right there. Come in. You might as well come right now. I might just wait up, man. All right, let me know y'all ready. Y'all ready? I'm gonna count down. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Yeah, y'all looking at me. Make sure I can see y'all. Make sure y'all can see the camera. Chris, what are you looking at? Yeah, right. Perfect. Got it. All right. Thank you. And y'all can go get y'all one-on-ones in.
Oh yeah. Right. I don't went home with it. You'd already in the car. It got weird.
Yeah, right.
Oh, cool.
Right. You good. Feel good?
Yeah, that's great. It's a brilliant idea. Yeah. Which is a thing for sure. Yeah.